not likely to actually have the defendants in court. So you're preparing a case in absentia. And as I understand it, really the last time that's really occurred is Nuremberg, Martin Bormann. Do you actually look back to see how they handled it at Nuremberg?
You will be surprised to hear that we actually did.
Of this order of the defendant Bormann, Hitler was enabled to proceed with his program of inhuman treatment and even extermination of Allied prisoners of war. We now proceed to put in what the prosecution conceives to be extremely important and extremely incriminating evidence against Bormann and the co-conspirators. That is, the responsibility of the defendant Bormann for the organized lynching of Allied airmen. I offer in evidence document 062PS. 062PS, USA Exhibit 696. And I very respectfully request that the tribunal turn to this document. On its face, it is an order dated 13 March 1940 from the defendant Hess, addressed to Reichsleiter, Gauleiter, and other Nazi officials and organizations. In this order, these party officials are instructed by the defendant Hess to instruct all German civil population to arrest or liquidate all bailed out Allied flyers.
Yeah.
And of course there are slight differences in terms of, not slight differences, there are substantial differences in terms of the evidence. At Nuremberg, as problematic it was to run a trial in absentia against Bormann, but the evidence was overwhelming because he had signed documents which were self-evident.
Mm-hmm.
So all the problems that generally arise with a trial in absentia were sort of mitigated in that particular situation. Our evidence, without going into any detail, is quite different.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, there are problems along the lines so the defense counsel don't get instructions. What does it mean? Does it mean can they run alternative defenses? This potentially, or not potentially, likely prolonging the trial. Can they agree to facts? Can they stipulate facts? All questions that didn't arise at the Yugoslavia Tribunal or the ICTR or the ICC. So we are facing a situation that's, at least considering the recent developments, is a novelty, and we will find a way, and we will have to find a way to deal with it.
Basically, sponsored by the Robert Jackson Center. In your world, what does Nuremberg and Justice Jackson, Robert Jackson, mean to you?
Nuremberg and Justice Jackson obviously mean a lot to me personally, and I want to add in this context that prior to coming to The Hague, I was actually a judge at the regional court in Nuremberg, and my office was literally next to the courtroom 600, so I was reminded of this literally every day. And whilst I was at the ICTY and whilst I was at the ICC, I actually took fairly big groups of lawyers to Nuremberg, and this was and is for me a daily occurrence almost. So to answer your question, Nuremberg, the Nuremberg trial, of course, and Robert Jackson, they mean a lot.
In Germany, what's the impact of the Nuremberg trial with regards to, that was an opportunity to try the Nazis, to lay bare the atrocities that occurred during that time period. What was the aftermath of the German people? Did they not want to hear it, or did it impact them? Did it lead to democracy, more democratic thinking?
Yeah, obviously I was born in '59.
Yeah.
But I got quite interested in exactly that question, so I think I can somewhat authoritatively talk about it. From what I got to understand, in the immediate aftermath of the war and following the Nuremberg Tribunal, the German people did not really want to hear it. It's unfortunate. They didn't want to believe it, and of course a trial was meant, and it did bring out the truth, and it was a hard truth for the German people, and the immediate reaction was, we really do not want to hear it. But that has changed quite dramatically, and it has changed within a couple of years. It took some years, but it has changed quite dramatically, and people got really interested in it. And of course, it's still a live issue, and it should still be a live issue. And I think the majority of the German people are interested in trying to understand what have been the reasons for what has been done. And the Nuremberg trials are still high on the agenda, and on TV you can see repeatedly documentaries about the Nuremberg trials. So it's there, it's a live issue.
Bormann обвиняется по разделам 1, 3 и 4 обвинительного заключения. Он вступил в национал-социалистскую партию в 1925 году.